Good evening and welcome again to Ideas at Work and Beyond. We have a very exciting show this evening focusing on Bethel. Before we go to that, I just want to, I guess talk about my outrage of the week. The government in Hartford, the local state government, finally got around to passing a budget. It includes a tax increase of about $900 million. That in the face of economic conditions that continue to spiral downward. I heard this evening on the news that unemployment nationwide, it's already well above 10% in certain segments like Michigan and other areas, but supposedly nationwide unemployment may top 10%. In the light of all that, the Democrat controlled legislature in Hartford at first wanted to raise taxes something in the neighborhood of $3 billion. It was finally pared down in what was considered a compromise, and there was a tax increase of $900 million. Basically, you have Democrats in control in Hartford, and instead of working towards limiting the growth of government, doing more with less, doing with, of all states, California did, where they rolled back some of the spending and gave the taxpayers a break. What did the Democrats decide to do in Hartford? Well, we have a picture that's now been blasted all across the country. They're playing solitaire. You can see there, I believe. Now, Al, you can help us out. When there's a D there in the parentheses, that indicates that they're Democrats, right?
I think that represents a person playing a good game of solitaire.
Solitaire, yeah. So Barbara Lambert from Milford and Jack F. Hennessy from Bridgeport, while they should have been, these are paid positions up in Hartford, not full-time jobs, but they're paid positions. While they should have been working at trying to limit the spending of state government, they're playing solitaire. This picture is plastered all across the United States. It's gone sort of viral.
Come on.
Anyways, also, one other item that we didn't get a chance to put up on the graphic, but I have it right here, is they're actually working on my mic. I want to get every single word of this, and that's a Tax Freedom Day nationwide. There's an organization that figures out how often and how much you have to work before you're experiencing Tax Freedom Day. And Al, I was just wondering if you might be able to guess, without looking, out of 50 states, which state do you have to work the longest just to pay your state, local, and federal taxes? Out of 50 states.
Out of 50?
Yeah. What do you think we are?
I just don't know. Can you tell me, please?
I will.
Okay.
You can cut the number one. Absolutely number one. The state of Connecticut, you, the taxpayers of the state of Connecticut, while your legislatures play solitaire in Hartford, have to work 120 goddamn days just to pay your taxes. Just to pay your taxes. And out of 50 states, we are number one. I mean, we may be like one of the per capita, the wealthiest states. We may have some of the best educational institutions. It may be a great state to come and do a business and raise a family. But I cannot believe that out of all 50 states, we are number one. You have to work through till April 30th. And then, and only then, can you start enjoying the fruits of your labor. That's the outrage of the week. They're playing solitaire in Hartford. They're raising your taxes. They're controlled by the Democrats, and some of my best friends are Democrats. But I'm just saying enough is enough. Even in California, they've decided that they have to roll back and hold the line on spending. My gosh, we're in the middle of an economic downturn, and we need to control spending. It's the same thing that's been done in Bethel with the first selectman there. It's the same thing that's been done in Ridgefield. And it's the same thing that's been done at your kitchen table with your personal budget. You can laugh. I'm serious about this.
I know you're serious.
All right.
That's so funny.
We are living within our means.
Okay.
I know at your family, you're living within your means.
Okay.
Absolutely. Your kids want that new Xbox. You're saying, Daddy can't do the Xbox this time around, or whatever your situation.
I'm getting the Xbox, man.
Whatever.
Madden 010.
My kids are. I'm just telling you, they got to live within their means, and that's the outrage of the week.
Okay.
Okay. This evening we have a very exciting show, and frankly, I sense that there could be a conspiracy afoot because the phone lines have gone down here at Comcast. I know Bethel politics is rough, but I don't know if there are people crawling through within the ceilings and cutting down wires and stuff like that. So, what I have done, because I'm your intrepid host, is I have agreed to use my BlackBerry to facilitate the discussion we're going to have this evening
You are
about
brave
all things Bethel. And, you know, I'm kind of not too concerned about my privacy, so the phone number, which is right there, 438-2003, will ring on my cell phone, and we'll try to put you on by speaker and microphone and get your questions on. All that's by way of preamble, and also we'll roll our email address so you can email in the questions. But tonight, I would very much like to welcome First Selectman Bob Burke.
Thank you for having me here.
I really appreciate you coming in. You have been very much in the news. I don't know if you know that, but people are very interested, and I was wondering if you could just start out by saying where you see the next 2 weeks going with the primary coming up and so forth in Bethel.
Well, we're in a very heated primary situation. It's really strange. Our town committee, I wasn't going to run. I told them months ahead of time that it's a very difficult job to be the first selectman in Bethel. Everybody throws any kind of rotten apple at you that they can, and if they can find a juicy tomato, they'll hit you with that too. Okay. But in going forward, they wanted me to run, they wanted me to run, they wanted me to run. I had a problem with my existing selectman from my party, Mr. Zakowski, over the last couple of years. He's voted for everything I put on the agendas, but he doesn't actively help me as Mr. Slifkin has for the last 3 years. He's been the chairman of my building committee for our high school, done a marvelous job, and that was very contentious all the way through for the last 7 years. It's been built on time and on budget because of Bill Slifkin.
Okay, yeah,
and the other
I didn't probably
service.
introduce Bill Slifkin. He is your running mate
Yes.
for selection.
Selectman's
Nice to meet you. Appreciate you very much coming in. And of course, we have Al Robinson, who is always here and has some questions as well.
And even though he's a Democrat, he adds a tremendous amount to your show.
Yes, he really does. He provides balance. We try to be fair and accurate here. Okay, so just to keep, bring everyone up to speed, because there's sort of some drama unfolding within the Republican Party. You are the elected first selectman in Bethel. You
Have been
won
for 4
twice.
years. Resoundingly.
Overwhelmingly resounding. And yet, the town committee did not endorse you as a candidate.
Right.
Now, there have been some legal unpleasantness that's unfolded in your life, and
More
I
than
realize...
unpleasant.
Okay, so, well, is there anything that you, I mean, because this is
Well,
had some effect on it.
I'm sure it has. I am not stopping my campaign. We're moving forward. The people of Bethel have wholeheartedly, Republicans and Democrats alike, have wholeheartedly supported me. I have never had a campaign, and I've been messing with this stuff for a while. When it first hit the paper,
Yeah.
you had Channel 3, Channel 6, and Channel 8 running all over Bethel trying to find me. I was in this studio filming a show, is where I was. They actually harassed my wife, banging on the door. My poor dog was all upset. And but anyway, that's the media can do what the media can do, I guess. But from that day forward, we have had 137 requests to have signs placed in the front yards of people.
Okay.
They called us and asked us to bring signs. Even after this police Burke hid personal cell phone, I never heard anything. I lost a personal cell phone. That's what happened. But I really can't discuss that.
Yeah, I
but the
understand.
News Times is just, it's a lynching party for me. I have not gotten along with them for 4 years because I've been over honest with them. Even the affidavit that they now have put up online, it has cell phone numbers on it. You talk about respect and privacy, they have no respect for anybody.
Yeah.
And but with that being said, I mean, people have called in, contributions have been mailed in. I have never had a campaign that I haven't had to call and ask or run functions.
My sense of it is, and this is at arm's length, and in a sense I feel a little bit like this is none of my business. This is Bethel's business, and they're working it out. But as fate would have it, we had this show, and you've been kind enough to come on, and
it's a
and
pleasure
we try
to be here.
Okay. My sense is that the Bethel Town Committee says, I mean, some of the things, and this is what has been said, not a team player. It's my way or the highway. Gruff. Brings incivility to the political wrangling. The good work of government isn't unfolding the way that they would like it to. And then this legal issue. That's the rap. On the other side, you say, hey, this guy took the reins of government. He got the school built. He got some
Park and Recreation built,
taken care of.
The culvert project on Chestnut Street done.
Right.
The firehouse is almost complete. The sewer project is back on track.
Roads are being paved.
The
And
sewer
taxes are
project
held in line.
had
That's
phase
right.
1 done. It was already over $1 million.
So-
Now, in a time of escalation, your asphalt at the present time is selling on a state bid for about $76 a ton. All right, down from last year in $93 a ton. When the sewer project was bid, it was at $34 a ton. So that's just your escalation on these jobs. Now, when you have a bonded project at $19 million,
Right.
what do? Come back to people and say, oh, by the way, we couldn't quite do our job right?
Yeah. No, I mean, but that's the other side of the coin is, hey, he's done a good job. He may be gruff around the edges. He's a contractor by, trade.
44 years in the trades.
Not a professional
Now,
politician.
you're a tradesperson.
Yes,
you
I am.
run, you run a business. When somebody isn't quite doing the job right,
Yeah.
do you tiptoe
Form a
around
committee and get
decide
everyone's input, or do you
and
take-
vote? And now, I have been more transparent than any government, I think, in the history of Bethel. I have afforded Bethel more opportunity to vote on many things, and in regard to giving everybody a voice, I have more minor party representatives serving in government than anybody in the history of Bethel.
Okay. Well,
I have Bill Michaels on the Public Utility Commission as a commissioner of sewer and water. Bill Michaels, in the last year, and he's a great friend of mine, has made motions to increase
Spending.
Right.
He doesn't do that. So,
okay. Well, I mean, but the point is, again, that's where the battle lines are drawn. The town committee is saying, hey, we need to get a new guy. You're saying, hey, I didn't want to run with this gentleman. I wanted to run with someone else. They couldn't see eye to eye, and here
well,
we
there's
are.
a little bit about control here.
Okay. Caller, are you there?
Yes, hi. Bob, for a question for you.
Go
How
ahead.
you doing?
Fine, go ahead.
Okay, Bob. 4 years ago, you lost the Republican. You lost the nomination at the Republican caucus. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is correct. I
All right.
lost the
And then
nomination
you-
and had to
you
primary
primaried
at
and
that
won,
point.
right?
I primaried and won, resoundingly.
Last week, Marty had Paul Zukowski on, and he said he thinks you should just go away because you lost the caucus. Can you tell me what was your running mate's name 4 years ago that also primaried and won with you? What was
Paul
his name? 'Cause
Zukowski.
Paul Zukowski says that you should just go away and let the party get together. What was his name? Thank you.
Paul Zakowski's
All right,
the
thanks
guy
for
that
the
ran
call.
with me.
I don't think that was quite accurate, but okay.
All right, no, but let's talk about that. So last
that-
time
that
you
is accurate.
The statement that he,
Yeah.
I know who that person is on the phone who made that call, and I recall the question from last week. I think that Mr. Zakowski said that you are entitled, because of democracy, to run in the
absolutely.
primary. I don't think, but I'll let you finish.
I thought you were referring to Mr. Zakowski being the man that primaried with me.
No,
last
not that.
No, but they were. But go ahead.
You know what,
All right, let me
I
just-
find, Al, what I find amazing, I'm a member of the BRTC. I was at every meeting. Up until the last week, they begged this man to run. all of us did. Bob, you have to run. And he kept saying, I really don't want to run. I don't want to run. Something happened in the last week, and then all of a sudden the allegations came out, and all the charges, the alleged charges came out, and the whole world changed.
Well, let's step back a little bit and talk about. Now, look, I was at the caucus. I know you saw me there.
Yeah.
We went to the extremely long vote, which was like going on for hours. But
That was extremely badly mismanaged, that
well,
vote. You
my
agree
opinion
or
also,
no?
It was a little too long for me. But let's just play a little devil's advocate here. The Republican Town Committee was very vocal in newspaper articles, and your fellow selectmen was very vocal in their opposition towards you.
Right.
They called you aggressive. They said you run you run as a dictatorship. You have vendettas against individuals. Where did all of this come from? You know, why is there any legitimacy to this at all, or are they just off the reservation?
Well, can I answer for
Yeah,
you?
go ahead.
I'd like to.
He was inside watching it happen.
I watched it, but you know, we talked about this on another show, and basically, the way I look at it, I worked at General Electric for 38 years. I worked under Jack Welch.
Okay.
And,
No shrinking violet himself.
and Jack Welch said,
He's-
this is the way
My way but
we're
the
going to
highway
do
type guy.
it, or get out of the way, go find another job. And if you weren't an A or a B player, you were gone. And I worked there 38 years. So when I met Bob Burke, he sort of reminded me of Jack Welch and his management style, that he just says, hey, this is what we got to do. We work for the people of Bethel, not for a small group that has certain interests. And that's, you know, he's criticized because he's a little rough and he's this and he's that. I'm sorry. He gets the job done. Our campaign is we deliver results.
Okay.
And that's how I would
See,
describe his management
The other
style.
part of this, too, is if you're looking at some special interest people that are in the back room that want their ideas brought forward, and they want to get credit for whatever their idea may be. And I have no trouble accepting ideas from anybody. That's the strength of this country, is the mix and they call it a jambot in Italian. It's a mixed bunch of vegetables that makes a wonderful meal. And that's the beauty of this country. And that's the beauty of the way our democracy works. But it's all about openness and fairness, a front door open, and what can I do for you? You know, the mayor of New York used to be right there at the front door going, what can I do for you today? That's the way I operate. And I don't take orders from special interest people. I sat on the town committee for 2 years. And for 2 years, I stood up and explained how things had to be, what we were doing, and how we were going forward. And I was criticized meeting after meeting after meeting. And finally I said, I'm not going to sit in here anymore, because you're not giving me anything to go forward with. You're just criticizing everything that I do. I'm gruff. I didn't speak right. I didn't go to a function. They were upset with me because I didn't go to a couple functions. I didn't go to a golf outing because they moved it around 3 times.
I think it was 4.
Well,
Maybe.
you can say 3 times, I'll say.
Okay.
I had committed to another golf situation. And I don't play that much golf. I'm terrible at it now. I used to be pretty good. So I couldn't I didn't go. I paid for my ticket, but I didn't go. Another thing was the dinner, very formal dinner. They moved that. They couldn't get it to happen, so they moved it, and it was on the same day that my daughter-in-law was graduating nursing school. Now, would you go to a function?
I think their criticism is beyond, you know, golf outings or missed dinners. I think their criticism, you know, reflects your interaction with people on the police commission, the incident with someone in the hallway, and
The Janice Jordan incident.
but I'm just saying, this way, there seems to be, and you know, Winston Churchill was a gruff guy. Teddy Roosevelt was a gruff guy.
Well
so,
put.
so being a gruff guy is not an indictment in and of itself. But the consensus seems to be of a certain portion of the town committee that in light of that, in light of some of these legal entanglements, this isn't the guy that we want carrying our banner. The chairman said...
They made that obvious.
Yeah, he said the rumors about Burke's legal problems are among the reasons the town committee decided not to endorse him, instead backing Krabas. He said, we didn't want people saying you knew about this and endorsed the guy anyway, Improta said. Like Stankowski, Improta said it would be wise for Burke to drop out of his primary. Quote, it would be good for the town, he said. We don't need to go through a fight. He has no chance of winning. I think he'd be doing himself a favor. That was quoted in the paper. So I think it's more than just, you know, golf outings.
That was their second statements, Marty. Their first statements, if you go back and get the first articles that came out after the caucus, their comments were quite a bit different.
And what was that?
If he had come to us earlier and declared he was our guy, they came to me on the 23rd day of July. They sent a representative in and told me unanimously, the town committee, please run. And I said, you don't realize what it takes to run. I'm running a government, and I have to run a campaign.
So up until the eve of the caucus, it was their intention to endorse you?
The eve of the caucus was the
two-time winner, an
28th, the
incumbent?
23rd day of July.
I was there.
And this was the caucus or the vacancy committee?
No, this is
was the
the
town
town
committee.
committee meeting on the 22nd day of July. They begged for me to run. They
Caller,
sent a
are you
rep-
there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Go ahead. What's your question?
My name is Jim from Denver. I'm just curious about one thing, what you and your guests thought about having term limits for politicians.
I like that question. It's very good. There are no term limits for first selectman, right?
No, there are. You serve a 2-year term, and there are no term limits.
So you can just...
We've had people that have served as long as 20 years, and we've had people that have served a 2-year term.
Yeah, I mean, I think in your favor, you have the power of the incumbency. You're running
Right.
on your record. If people
Exactly.
like that taxes have been held in check, if they like that the schools have been built, if they like that the roads, they've gotten a good deal, and if they can, forgive me for saying it, but they can stomach your gruff
Obnoxiousness.
attitude and showing up in the paper and stuff like that, and not feel like, hey, you know, who wants to put up with this unpleasantness? Let's get a new guy in there. If they're saying, hey, you know, it's part of the package, that's what you get with Burke.
Well,
they're going to vote you in. We have that graphic of Norman Rockwell. I'm a sucker for Norman Rockwell, but I think this whole issue in Bethel is going to come down to the voters. No, not the caribou. That's the wrong graphic. No, not the caribou.
For president.
That's a caribou I shot up in Canada. They're saying that they no, the other graphic with Norman Rockwell. But to me, it expresses.
Were you
it's
hunting
called-
with Governor Palin?
No, I could. But it's the voters. I mean, I love that picture. It's a freedom of
We
speech.
have that
and it's
picture.
the voters. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we have that picture hanging in my selectman's room.
Yeah. Well,
I have that, and I have Trumbull's picture of the Declaration of Independence signing.
but that's
Two favorite pictures.
Norman Rockwell captures America and our democracy. And there's a guy who worked all day, who really isn't that wrapped up in politics.
It's a
but he's-
carpenter.
There you go. And he's going to come out and he's going to speak his piece like we've seen in these town hall meetings. and he's going to end up deciding whether they're going to put Burke back in office or whether they've said enough is enough, let's get a new guy in.
You know what I read into that picture when I see it, Marty?
What?
That man standing up and saying, why?
Yeah. Why are my taxes
come?
going up?
How
Why
come?
Yeah. All right. Why
Can't we do this a little better?
Why are they playing solitaire in Hartford
Yes.
while they're raising taxes? Here are a couple email questions. If you could please ask the following question, Mr. Burke, regarding the Janice Jordan incident. His account seems to fly in the face of logic. Let me just go through the questions. And Mr. Burke is on the record of saying he never threatened Mrs. Jordan. Please have him answer this question prior to asking question number 2. This guy's giving
Okay,
me,
you ready for that?
Yes, go right ahead.
All right. I had a person come into my office,
Yeah.
specifically to come into my office,
Okay.
because of a survey that was given from the 12th grade
This
to
had
the
to do
6th
with
grade.
some sexual stuff in the
Right.
lower grades. Okay,
And
they didn't like
the mother
it.
was extremely upset because there was a part in there that talked actually about oral sex.
Okay,
And she was extremely upset over that.
right.
So I said, well, I don't know anything about this, but that kind of an accusation seems like it's very improper for
Right.
a sixth grade class. So I went up with her. The phone rang as we were on our way up to go to see if we could get, she wanted a copy of the survey. I
Okay.
said, I'd certainly be happy to accompany you and see if I can expedite that for you. She got there just ahead of me, and when I did get in it, there's a whole police report on this.
Okay.
And there's a police investigation on this, and if you get it,
Yeah.
I believe it is posted on
It's on.
our
Most
website.
likely on Hat City blog. The guy
I
has
hope it is.
everything.
I do Danbury politics. I've got
Go ahead.
Well,
It's
if
another-
you
Need another
Burke
blog.
you
it's on
may-
Burke 2009.
Okay, but let's
Well,
speed this
let's-
up. I want to get so there was some sort of an altercation with the lady who was
Right.
upset about
And when I
this
went up
issue.
there, the superintendent actually was disrespectful to me.
Okay.
And I told her she has a right to see the survey that her child took.
I would agree with that. Yes.
And it's her child. It's not our child. It's
So
her
things
child.
got a little heated.
I didn't. She raised her voice, and
Okay, and then
I
that's when
carried the
you
level
had
with her.
the police chief
I
come in.
called the police station, and I got the police chief on the phone. I said, I want your highest-ranking officer to come up here
Okay.
because I'm having a situation in the assistant superintendent's office.
Okay.
And at that time, the superintendent, who I don't know why he wasn't in town, but he wasn't even in town,
Right.
called on the phone, and it was so stated in the detective's report that he told the chief of police to arrest me.
Okay. So
And
there
he
was some
wasn't
sort
even
of an
there.
altercation.
Well, they don't respect me.
Okay, but for those that have it out for you or don't appreciate your gruff personal, they say, see, it's another example of this, kind of
Well,
thing.
let me
let
explain
me-
something.
okay.
When money's got to be spent, and I say, why?
Yeah.
Why? Why does it cost that much? Why can't we do it? Why can't we get better for less?
Okay. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Caller, did you have a question? Going once, going twice.
Paul in front of the chairman of the Republican Town Committee, and I just wanted to mention that we never had an issue with the scheduling of our golf tournament. And Mr. Bellardinelli, the alleged representative of the town committee, is not a representative of the town committee. That's who they're using as a representative of the town committee.
Okay, so you want to go on record as saying that the scheduling of the golf tournament was fine. Anything else you'd like to add?
That's it.
Okay, all right. Well,
Oh,
I get the distinct impression Mr. Improta doesn't like me.
okay.
Can we
Go ahead.
can we get back to that Jordan incident? Because last week when I questioned Mr. Kravis and Mr. Zakowski about that, they said that your account of that incident was 180 degrees from reality.
You need to read the incident report written by the chief of police and the follow-up report as to if there was any wrongdoing by giving the survey to students at a 6th grade level. And if you read those incident reports, that's what would be brought into a court of law, and I think you'll find out that they're 180 degrees off.
So-
because they're working on rumor and innuendo rather than fact.
Okay,
Government is a very simple thing. Everything we do is recorded, and there's minutes of meetings.
Yeah.
That becomes a rule of law.
The follow-up question was, if there's no threat of any kind, such as an arrest, then why did he feel he needed to call in, interrupt the summons of the chief of police or any other law officials to come to the offices of the Board of Ed and of Mrs. Jordan after he had already arrived and argued with her?
But I hadn't arrived and argued. She got very defensive toward me, accused me of being abusive. The minute I was told that I was being abusive, and I was not,
Right.
and the incident report and the follow-up detective's report will verify that, I immediately put my back against the wall, crossed my arms, and said, I'm going to call for a policeman.
Next one.
Okay, so let me just get this out here real quick. A lot of people are saying that, you know, Mr. Burke carries vendettas against certain individuals. The Kevin Riley incident was something that we talked about last week as well. I think he's a member of the Board of Finance, an elected official of the Board of Finance. I guess there was something where he should have recused himself, possibly.
Oh, absolutely.
And what is being alleged by some circles is that because, although he's a Republican, he kind of sides with the Democrats on a lot of things. He endorsed, he's one of these Republicans for Olson in 2007, and it could be some type of vendetta charge done against him. And in terms of the charter of the town of Bethel, it seems a little odd because I know state statute, and there is no recall provisions in the state of Connecticut. If you're an elected official, you cannot be dismissed by the selectmen or anybody. So, as I said last week, I think there's a little problem with that charter, and I think the whole thing should have been thrown out because I don't think you have the right to throw out somebody who was elected by the people. So I don't even understand why this situation is happening. But what do you say to the charges that saying that, you know, you're holding a vendetta against Riley? This has more to do with political politics than anything else.
That's not true either. I don't hold a vendetta. Mr. Riley has sat on the Board of Finance. I think this is his 8th year.
Yeah.
And he votes the way he votes. That's what the people put you there for. I don't hold vendettas. I respect your right to vote. I may not agree with what you vote for, but I respect your right to vote the way you want. That's why the people put you there, especially if you're elected a second time. Now, what happened was it went before an ethics commission. The ethics commission, which are 2 lawyers on that ethics commission, followed the charter and unanimously
They gave a ruling on this?
gave a ruling that Mr. Riley was wrong. Now, there were 3 things that could be done. He could be fined, he could receive a letter of, you know, slap on the wrist, you're a bad boy letter, or he could be removed.
Well, that goes back to what I said again.
You're
Isn't that in
100%
violation
right.
to the state? You can't remove an elected official. If the
And
person was appointed, that's one thing, but you can't
Your
remove
town
somebody who's
charter
elected.
can have some now, but it's superseded by the state charter, which is superseded by the United States Constitution.
Correct. So, therefore, in this situation, you
can't be removed.
You can't be removed. So,
We
why
just
the
at our
long
last-
delay in all this situation?
Because I was waiting for a town attorney to make a ruling. And he's presented the ruling in writing, and it was given to us at our last selectmen's meeting, and now we will reconvene Kevin Riley's hearing.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening. Yes, I think when all is said and done, Mr. Bob Burke is a veteran in good standing. And also, Mr. Bob Burke has a record of accomplishment as a first selectman. So regardless of what the dance people are doing around him, these are true factors. And great show.
Thank you. So, for those of you who might not know, the caller said you're a veteran in good standing, is that what he said? And that you've been reelected, so you have a record to run on, and he thought this was a good show.
He's a brilliant man.
Brilliant. Okay. It's good to hear from your brother.
That was my cousin Charlie.
Cousin Charlie. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean that's you know, in this whole thing. I mean, it's not like you're an unknown commodity.
Oh,
you know?
I've been in Bethel for 59 years, and my statement is I know the raccoons by first name because I hung their grandfather's hides on the wall. As a small kid, I used to trap. I've seen Bethel. I was a kid in the 50s, so we were an agrarian town then. So I've seen Bethel in a place that nobody's ever seen it before. The reason I can do what I can do with the construction projects we're having is I know where things run in the town. And that's the other reason, because I know where things are and where to put a pump station. And you can't run they were running a sewer line through the middle of the Four Bridges swamp. There's no bottom to that swamp. We used to lose cows out there when I was a kid. Cows step in the swamp and disappear. Never come back.
You know, people do evolve. I don't mean to get, you know, psychobabble on you and stuff like that, but do you think that if you had it to do over again, looking back on the last 2 years, that there were certain altercations or situations that have not turned out so well for you and in your image that you might do otherwise?
Anybody can correct anything in themselves. As far as I know, there's only been one human being that ever walked on Earth that was perfect.
All right.
All right? But I will do the best I can to make myself better at all times. If I have a serious problem, it's the fact that I have a small brain and a big heart. So I'm not really, my whole life I've always taken care of the little guy. I'm a guy that steps up and says, wait a minute, why can't this guy vote? Why can't this guy do what we're doing? You know? Why are you spitting at the veteran that just came back? I was a veteran during the Vietnam era, and that was not a good time to really be a veteran. These kids today, you think about what these kids are doing today for us. They're going down, signing their name and going, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times. We've got kids from Bethel that are on their third tour in Iraq. I got the O'Shaughnessy kid that's won a Bronze Star, that's an Army medic on his 3rd trip with a 3-year-old baby that he loves very much, and a mother that's so proud of him.
But I think again, and you know, it's probably not my place to analyze, but what the heck, we got to fill an hour.
You want me to dance?
No, I don't need you to dance, but I mean, it takes a certain skill level and a certain set of personality characteristics to run a construction business and to get things done on a construction site. It takes another.
You know exactly how my management style is.
Yeah, but it takes another to be the chief executive officer of a town that has a $60 million budget and works with a whole array of committees.
Next year it'll be a $61,400,000 budget without any increases.
But there's a different
That's just
skill
mortgages
set
that are due.
There's consensus building. There's trying to get everyone's buy-in.
Sound just like Alexander Hamilton.
I'm just saying, and it could be that
he got shot by Aaron Burr.
Well, he did, but he had, it was a duel, so he had his chance. But Weehawken, right? Because they went across to New Jersey because it was
dueling was legal.
Because it was illegal to do it.
This is the Weehawken Flash right here.
Okay,
Born and raised in New Jersey.
But I mean, but do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, and it could be that. Some of your greatest strengths are also, sow the seeds of your Achilles heel, and I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I threw up that picture of that one voter because at the end of the day, that politically speaking, I mean, you're going to be fine regardless. It would seem to me. Politically speaking, your future is in the hands of the people that you served for the last 4 years, and they get to vote.
We need to tell the voters what the difference is between Krabus and Zukowski and Burke and Slifkin.
Let's get into that then.
I'd love to.
What is the difference between?
Well, look, they put out this
team?
flyer.
Okay.
We have done everything that they say they're going to do. For example, they're going to execute an economic development plan to increase our tax base. We've already done that.
Let me explain something to you. Now, Mr. Zukowski sat on my board 2.5 years ago when I put forward a plan of development for the town of Bethel that we spent $152,000 for. And with that, for economic development, we also put together an $80,000 expenditure for the Route 6 corridor and how to develop that better, work with the owners. We don't own the land up there. People own the land up there. They pay taxes on that land, some of them since 1949. Now, on both ends, we've got 2 good pillars, kind of like the rocks of Gibraltar. The pillars of Hercules. We got Target on one side, which was very contentious. We got the Big Y on the other side. Well, between those 2 stores, you've got probably about $800,000 worth of revenue coming in. Those shopping centers.
All right, let me continue. Aggressively.
See, you're being overbearing on your running mates.
No,
See?
he's not.
Right here, you're going to burn out another guy. You got to calm down, son. You got to get it together.
You gotta,
notice what
I work
just
for
happened.
Jack Welch.
Notice what just
I can't be
happened.
burnt out.
Bill Slifkin said, wait a minute,
and
let me put this word in. I said, Billy, go ahead.
See there?
Aggressively
That's
pursue
why I wanna work
state
with him.
grants.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
This man has already gotten $5 million in state grants since he's been in office. $4 million, excuse me. What they're going to aggressively pursue,
I'm after another million.
who knows? reduced seniors' tax burden.
Okay.
He's reduced the seniors' tax burden,
Maximize the veterans.
and he's taking care of the veterans every year. I'm on the Board of Finance. We
Okay.
voted to approve those every year. So welcome good ideas and ensure all elements of the town government work together. That's already been done. He's reorganized parts of the town government, and they are working together. But let's look at it from a different
You
perspective.
bring in
If I
some-
may.
Okay, well, another one of the things that was brought up last week, I'm trying to talk about a lot of the points that
That's
brought up
good.
last week, so you
That's
guys can
good.
rebut this or whatever. One of the things Mr. Zakowski and Mr. Kravis brought up was the term openness, integrity, and honesty back to government. So it would seem to be that there was directing to you that you're not very open, in some cases not very honest, and there is a lack of integrity. They brought up the fact that they said the education portion of the budget is one of the largest portions of the budget in Bethel.
70%.
But they accused you of being an individual who does not communicate with the Board of Education, does not communicate with the superintendent of schools.
May I cite an example for you?
Okay.
It is not, I have no authority over the superintendent of schools. The Board of Education and its chairman have total authority and autonomy over the superintendent of schools. So I'm not going to get in arguments with a man that works for somebody else. However, when it comes to money and some other things, the Board of Education does have to communicate through its chairman to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen will call meetings. Last year, the end of November, when we had $1.5 million shortage between tax collection and revenues, every town...
Yeah, we had the same thing in Ridgefield.
You know what we're
Yeah.
talking about. I immediately, rather than wait and pray and light candles, I called a joint meeting of the Board of Finance,
Yep.
the Board of Education, and I brought them in, and I told them what the revenue problems were and where we were. They had the audacity to come back to me and say, have you considered instituting a special tax to cover the shortfall for the people that couldn't pay? You can overtax the other people. Now, that upset me. Would that upset you?
It would. The guys that
Would
play
that upset you,
solitaire
Ally?
up
Yeah,
in
well,
Hartford would
upset you
probably...
even more.
No, they would embrace that plan. We need more money, let's go pay tax.
But through that, I had 3 meetings in that whole course, December, January, and into February, where we jointly did all of this. So I don't know what they're talking about, if you really think
So
about
what they're
that-
saying is inaccurate.
it. And
Kravis
If you
is
had
the
3
one who's
meetings-
voted to increase spending on the Board of Education side.
2.4% increase when the budget came in. This is after they were told we're $1.5 million behind.
The bottom line on all this is
Respect for the voter.
Larry Kravis and Paul Zakowski, they're on one side. They're not afraid to raise taxes. Bob Burke and Bill Slifkin, because I'm on the Board of Finance and I voted for a 0 increase last year. We want to hold taxes at 0. Now, we have a problem this year.
You
we have
have
$1.4
to.
million. We're starting with $1.4 million deficit.
Right.
Because of the bonding of the high school that's coming out
Right,
at the end of
right,
the year.
right.
And we have to find ways to come up with $1.4 million. And it's certainly not by increasing spending. And I know the voters of Bethel will be able to differentiate between one side and the other. And we keep our taxes down.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Nick Ellis, and I want to congratulate Bob Burke on he's done a good job of keeping taxes down. But that's not the only thing that keeps the community alive, obviously, is keeping taxes down. There's services that we need in this town, which, again, he's done a good job, especially his first 2 years. Going with that theory, he's actually costing the town $5,000 or $6,000 for a primary. Since his name is on the ballot as a pro party, why doesn't he just stop the primary? He wanted to be on the ballot. He's on the ballot. So it will go a long way with taxpayers saving $5,000. If he can answer that question, that would be appreciative.
All right, thanks for calling.
So I guess what he's saying
Let
is
me
that
say
because
that-
you're on the pro-Bethel party ticket.
Right, we were
I guess
just
there was a
doing-
caucus yesterday about it.
Okay. Let me say this.
If you lose the Republican primary, will you step down at that point, or will you continue to run on the pro-Bethel ticket for November?
You going to pull Lieberman on us here, or what are you going to do?
I will continue. I'm honored to be nominated as their candidate.
Okay.
I was their candidate last time, and I was their candidate the time before that.
But you were cross-endorsed, right? You
Right.
were the Republican.
All right? Well, if I become the Republican candidate, I'll be cross-endorsed there again.
Right.
Right, but
All right?
if you lose
Now,
the
let me
primary-
say
okay.
this, too. Mr. Zekowski and Mr. Kravis are actually nominated on the independent party. So why don't they withdraw and just run on the independent party? And then we wouldn't have a primary. So they can withdraw.
So you're saying that if you lose the primary in the Republican primary, you'll continue on the pro-Pestle ticket
Absolutely.
and run all the way?
Because that's democracy at its finest.
Okay.
You're representing, you have 4 parties in Bethel. And then you have the BAC, which is tax activist group. That's the best of democracy. That allows everybody to have a voice.
So if, let's say, for instance, I brought up this scenario last week. Let's say that you win the Republican nomination and Mr. Zekowski wins the Republican nomination. Will you run with Zekowski on the Republican ticket?
If the people choose that, you're kind of stuck. Please don't let them do that to me.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yes, Marty, I'm sorry for the delay. I'm just really dizzy because there's just so much spin going on here. I just want an answer. It's either yes or no. I don't want to hear about Rockwell. I don't want to hear about anybody else. Is he going to spend
Well, you don't like the
$5,000?
Norman Rockwell picture?
He didn't really want the
Al,
Republican
did I just
support.
answer-
I
did I
was in
just
town
answer that
also,
question?
And he's been lying, but I'm really dizzy.
Okay, caller.
Going to
Caller.
$5,000 of the tax dollars money. He just wanted to be on a ballot. If he can be elected, as long as his name is somewhere for the people to find it, is he going to not primary?
Okay, caller, let me...
$5,000 is
Let me answer that directly. I will absolutely, positively continue the primary.
Okay, caller, the answer to the question is yes, he will continue his political ambition to get elected, even if he's not endorsed by the Republican primary. That's the answer.
You're hearing from somebody that gets more and more and more emotional as his anger goes after him.
Should we
And
do
he's been
full
proven in
disclosure here?
history.
In terms of full disclosure, I did this last week. I know you guys saw it last week, and this
Nick
week I'll do
Ellis.
it here. The individual that was calling in the phone right there was Nick Ellis, who is the...
Chairman of the Police Commission.
Okay, I just want to get that out for the public, because just like last week, if there's anybody calling into the show that is of a part of government or anything like that, I just want the public to know so they know who they're listening to here.
If you did not get into the argument with people who do not work for you, just said, why did you argue or go to Jan Jordan's office?
Because the mother of the 6th grade child asked me to accompany her.
Okay. Yeah, now that I just want to roll forward a little bit just politically, because you have this Republican primary. If you don't prevail in the Republican primary, you will still be on the
Pro-Bethel.
Democracy at
Pro-Bethel.
its finest.
Okay, and then there's also another candidate called Mr. Nickerson, or Knickerbocker. I'm
Matt
sorry,
Knickerbocker.
Matt Knickerbocker. And I mean, would you see that as the worst of all possible outcomes? That with all this fighting going on within the Republican Party, that you become divided, and it opens the way for the Democrat to come in? I think that's something like what happened in
splitting the vote.
Danbury, right? With the Democratic Party before Mark Broughton got elected, there was some infighting there.
I don't know about now.
Mr. Sotero and
So, I mean, is there any way of avoiding that potential outcome?
yeah, the Republicans in the town of Bethel can you resoundingly vote for Bill Slifkin and myself on the 15th day, and we'll be on 2 lines. And then Mr. Zekowski and Mr. Kravis can resign from the independent party.
Well,
So you're not worried, because some people are saying that, let's say the Democrats are hoping, I should say, and,
They're
some
praying.
Democrats are hoping that you stay on the ticket, you run the pro-Bethel, because you would split the Republican vote, and Mr. Knickerbocker will have a much easier time of being elected. Are you concerned about something like that for the party as a whole?
I'm concerned not about the parties in Bethel, but I'm concerned going forward in the next 2 years in regard to the outcome of everybody in Bethel. This is not about 3,000 Republicans or 3,000 Democrats. This is about 19,000 people, 11,000 voters.
Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I've known Bob Burke for many, many years.
Has he ever been
Bobby,
gruff with you?
You know, this is Denise calling. I got so confused when I started reading those newspaper articles. They were so nasty. And I happen to know that Bobby was once a Democrat. And the Democrats turned on him because he supported Billy Michaels. And he gave him a little money once to fight the high taxes in town. Why are the Republicans so mad at you? And why all of a sudden this harassment stuff? I've known you for years. I know your wife. She's a lovely, lovely person. I mean, why are they doing this? I'm confused. Can you answer that for me, please?
All right, thank you for the call. Bob, are you just a big misunderstood lug that has had bad things happen to you? No fault of your own? Or are you really some sort of
Let me explain
Neanderthal, angry, borderline personality disorder person that has, a bull in a china shop?
That is a good question.
Well, with the real Bob Burke, are you this
Yes,
lovable teddy bear? What is it?
Actually, I'm this lovable teddy bear, and I care very much about the little guy. But my problem is when the big guy gets over authoritative and the special interest and we're in charge, I don't take that well. Even in the military, I was a non-commissioned officer. I made sergeant 3 times. I did not get out of sergeant. I had a little bit of problem sometimes with authority, and that's a weakness, and I'll admit to it. But my record kind of speaks for itself. We've got the lowest tax increases since the 50s. You got a 1.4% increase in 4 years. Not 1 year.
What was it the last year?
0%
tax increase.
You know, I went to dinner tonight, and I had people come up to me and say, please win the primary. I do not want my taxes going up. It really is that simple. You
And they're Democrats.
One of them was a Democrat. And it's just, you have a choice here, and you have a choice here in the Republicans. They want to spend some money, we will keep it down.
See, people may want me to drop out and not have a primary,
That's why.
and that's exactly why. Because, as the lady said, I was a Democrat for 32 years.
So let me get this straight. You were a Democrat?
I
and
was
you
a-
kind of.
I was a-
What happened there? How did that?
I was a John Kennedy Democrat, a Harry Truman Democrat. Al knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Ronald Reagan was a Democrat once too.
Yes,
He said he didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left him.
And that's what happened to me. I also happen to be, by faith, Roman Catholic. So certain stances that certain political parties take, I do not abide with.
Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I wanted to, I guess this would be kind of a broad-based statement, but it appears to me that we've had, first of all, Bob Burke has been, accusation of dubious merit has been brought against him. We've seen John McGowan and Danbury, an accusation of dubious merit brought against him. We've seen the Attorney General Holder, who is now going after CIA agents who were defending this country. And so I think on a broad-based comment, what I'm saying is, I think we see the left in this country using methods to criminalize their political opponents without any merit whatsoever.
All right. Is this some sort of far left-wing conspiracy?
Left-wing?
Your various
Left-wing. The
legal
Republicans are after him. You calling it left-wing?
Hey, we're good at this.
Okay,
Just
yeah,
bear with
okay.
us here. Anything we can
I
blame
really
on,
can't speak of my legal entanglements because
Okay.
I haven't been to court yet.
Okay.
Even though I'm being severely abused by the Danbury News Times, who doesn't really respect my rights. But leaving that aside, it's highly suspicious. I mean, how does this all of a sudden happen after a primary, after a caucus, when we're into a primary situation? And this complaint, to the best of my knowledge, was turned in over a year ago.
So are you questioning the time? Are you questioning the timing of this?
It's suspicious to me.
Are you also stating that there's maybe slanderous material or libelous material within the Danbury News Times or inaccurate reporting by them? By that, or
They're jumping on some things. I am highly offended not just for me, but for everybody, that Danbury News-Times blog is horrific.
Well, we've talked about that
It's
extensively on both sides of the political aisle. I think something should be done about the comment section of the News Times. But I'm just, in terms of the reporting of the News Times, the articles themselves by the reporters. Are you alluding to those?
I think they're a little bit slanted against me.
Okay.
I could be just a little hypersensitive here, because nobody's...
There is a difference between the comment section that are done by people and the reporters who are reporting on
I have been
news.
very pleased in the past with the reporting of some reporters. Presently, I will speak at any time to Eileen Fitzgerald. She can call me 24 hours a day, and I'll return the call as soon as I'm aware that she's called, because she's a very fair reporter. I will never try to influence news in any way, shape, or form. I believe in tell them the truth and let them vote. And that's what we're doing.
Well, I don't want to take a much, I'll be real quick. Issues, let's just talk about real quick issues. Going forward, what issues do you see in Bethel that needs attention? Maybe transportation, the rail line, development?
Transportation is going to be...
What issues are you guys going to be running on going forward?
Keeping my taxes down.
Okay.
Just as we've done, continuing to do all the projects we have to do. We've still got a sewer project that's got to get done on budget. We also have maintenance situations where we have to start doing things with more road repair. Nothing's been done with road repair in 25 years. So that's another thing that you have to look at as a long-term situation for road repair.
Okay.
I want to thank my guests for coming in here.
We ran out of time.
You're a real stand-up guy for coming in. A lot
Thank
of
you.
guys, under the circumstances, might not want to appear, but I appreciate you coming in.
One step forward every day.
We cannot control who calls in or what questions come in, so I appreciate you answering all the questions. The primary is September 15th, and it's open to registered Republicans.
Right.
That's
So
correct.
for those of you that don't want to register, now is a good time to register. Join us next week when we'll have Dan DiBasella, who is a state senator who hopes to be running against Congressman Himes. And appreciate you turning in. I appreciate you working with us through the BlackBerry. So we'll see you next week on Ideas at Work and Beyond. Ideas at Work and Beyond from 9 to 10 on Channel 23. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Good night. Vote.